Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the show. Welcome to I Want to Believe. Final countdown to Christmas. How many days now? Is it 27 days?
Yeah,
7 days.
about that. Something.
Wow.
Yeah, 8 days. 8 days, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know what. I don't know what day it
I
is
can't
today,
see the
so.
corner of the screen. My eyes are. I haven't got my glasses on, so it's about 7 days. Yeah, this year's gone really fast. Like with bearing in mind with COVID and stuff like that, it's definitely like spun around really quickly. But how's your week been, Linda and Kathy?
You first,
Good.
Kathy.
Yeah, good. Just we're not really doing a whole lot, I guess, for Christmas. Probably going to my, daughters. We're kind of just taking it easy this year, and yeah, doing pretty good. You want to hear something funny though? The other day I was doing my live show, and I'm not an orb person. Like I'm not. I'm
No,
more,
really? We love a good old.
yeah. Like I'm not one of those that are like, oh my God, well, it's my grandma, whatever. So I was doing the show, and there was this whirly thing, like I guess over this way. It was behind my head, and it kind of came around, and and I could see it on the camera, but there was nothing in front of my face. Like, like normally you would see a bug, or you'd hear a bug, or you'd see a big dust ball or something. But this was almost transparent and kind of whirling around and came over here and just sort of took off. It was the coolest thing, I have to say, because again, I'm not one of those that are like, but this was actually pretty cool. So I don't know what the heck it was, but I was quite impressed with the orb activity of that day.
Just so the audience knows that Kathy doesn't smoke the funny cigarettes, so she wasn't.
Yeah,
she wasn't seeing things in that respect.
Yeah, she stays away from those. But how was your week, Linda?
It was a really good week, but really busy. I mean, everybody's going crazy now, and I do a lot of things on the side, like sewing and stuff. So now everybody's coming out of the woodwork going, could you please do this? And could you please make me what? And it's like, no, actually, no. But we had some good news. We had done an investigation last week, and now everything has calmed down to the point of not even being there anymore. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's good. It's good when it finishes it off like that. It's mission accomplished per se, for sure.
Yeah, makes you feel good.
Weirdest thing happened probably about an hour before we come on here. My Canadian Paranormal Foundation page, we've got this post from a guy called Nick Moulton, and he's been a part of the Facebook page now for, I don't know, it looks about 3 or 4 years. And he just comes up with this story that I attended this investigation. I had to phone my friend Russell because he was the investigator at that time on my team as well. And he had to help refresh my memory about it. But we did an investigation in Surrey, BC. And we basically, what it was, he moved into a basement a basement apartment with his girlfriend, and he just moved over from Winterpeg, and he got in there, and they started having these weird kind of they were feeling very lethargic and stuff like that, and like very kind of run down, tired, and then all of a sudden they started hearing things coming from upstairs, like footsteps and stuff like that. But this guy is he's ex-armed forces, and he's kind of, what he sees is black and white. He didn't believe in the paranormal or anything like that. And so he kind of, he went forward. And then one particular night, his girlfriend woke him up, and both him and his girlfriend saw an apparition at the end of their bed. So he's like, okay, we got to, we got to find someone. Who are you going to call, kind of thing, And anyway, he reached out to Vancouver Paranormal Society, and this was 2013. And he reached out to, obviously, me at the time, and we did an investigation at his place. And I vaguely remember it because I was talking to Russell just before we went on. But as we were walking around, there was like stain marks around the side of his wall, and where the hot water tank was, and where the furnace was as well. There was like this black cloud and stuff like that. Not black cloud, but like black staining as well. And like, my background is I'm a gas fitter from back home in the UK, and usually with things like that, that's a sign of carbon monoxide, like incomplete combustion, where you get that black staining. You know, sometimes on gas fires you see that staining on the side of walls and stuff like that. That means that the gas fire hasn't been serviced or needs some kind of maintenance. Anyway, I didn't think anything of it. I said to him, look, you need to get the landlord involved here. It looks like that there's, you know, potential carbon monoxide or something like that. I said, I can't, you know, the line in the sand is like, you brought me in as a paranormal investigator, and I would highly recommend you get it checked out first thing, and then we'll come back later. Anyway, like most investigations, he disappeared off the face of the planet. I never heard of him again after that or anything like that, because, you know, sometimes with people like that, if you ask them to do that first step, they don't do it, because it's not, I'm not saying that they made it up or anything like that, but people don't always follow through with requests and stuff like that. So anyway, it's just come up now that he got his landlord involved, who's a friend of his, and it turned out that there was carbon monoxide present in his studio apartment, in his basement apartment, which is incredible. And he said shortly after that, everything, like once the gas appliances got mended, because it was like a flue duct or liner that was buried over the other side of the wall, that got fixed. Everything was okay, but then shortly after that, he moved out because that apparently uncovered other things in the house as well. So the landlord, who was his friend, had to, you know, the building had to go under repairs and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it's incredible. It's things like that. It's just a lot of, I don't know, I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but a lot of investigators don't think of kind of that kind of element, those natural reasons why people, you know, could be experiencing those kind of things as well. So it's a kind of it's a feather in the cap and a learning lesson for everyone, I guess.
Absolutely.
Do you guys ever? I know everyone carries like EMF meters and stuff like that, but do you guys ever carry like carbon monoxide detectors or anything like that?
No, I don't
No,
actually.
we never did either. EMF, yeah, but not the carbon monoxide.
No.
Yeah, we never did either. I mean, carbon monoxide detectors, I think here anyway, in Ontario, they are mandatory. Every house has to have them. So, I mean, we never really think about it. We always assume, there's that word again, that every house is going to have one, right?
Well, you can't assume anything, especially with landlords, rented accommodations, because some of the places I visited when I used to be a plumber, like they're horrendous, like how they can allow people to live in those places. But these people, you know, they just see that they don't want to complain about it, because, you know, they think the rent's cheap and stuff like that. And it's just like, this is like the borderline life safety here. Like when you've got, you know, when there's mold and, you know, there's, you've got asbestos, cracked tiles and stuff like that. And it's just like, come on, guys, you bring yourself a line a little bit here. But anyway, totally off track with that. But but no, it could be food for thought for people watching as well, perhaps. Like, you know, just when you investigate for those kind of things. Yeah, just keep your eye out for stuff like that. But anyhow, this week's, oh God, Shannon. This week's guest, a very good friend of mine. I met Darren a number of years ago. I'm gonna waffle on and pretend I didn't read that, but I'll give it. Yeah, I met Darren a number of years ago through TAPS when I was a director and international liaison for TAPS, and very good friend of mine. Darren, he is from Canada originally, but he's now based in Washington. I'll bring him on now so he can introduce himself. Darren, hi, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, good to see everybody again. For some of you again, some for the first time.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. And I want to say sorry before we say anything.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we should all do a sorry story.
I know. Let's do a round table sorry, because we're all Canadians. Sorry.
Yeah. I was listening to what you were saying about the looking for causation other than paranormal. And I like that. I like what you said. I always thought that our group. Oh, sorry. I need to introduce myself. Hi.
Yeah.
I'm Darren. I am the president and one of the founders of WSPIR. It was founded in 2005 in Washington State. We were one of the TAPS family members, and we were responsible for the Washington State area. We still are, but that's kind of the crux of it. I'm originally from Montreal, moved to Seattle in 2000. And it was funny, when I was in Montreal, I was always interested in the paranormal, but there just didn't seem to be French spirits haunting anything. There wasn't paranormal groups that you could participate with. I know. And when I moved to Seattle, I discovered there were communities of these paranormal people and got involved. And because of my technical background, so I've been in wireless since there weren't wires. Actually, now everything's wireless, but everybody has like a lot of chargers, which has a lot of wires. So it's the wireless with wires. And so I've been in the telecommunications industry forever. And now I work for T-Mobile in the United States, working on standards and stuff that'll make your eyes roll backwards. But I'm very familiar with EMF and RF and all those, wow. So the first introduction to paranormal was I saw this group and they said, here's the suitcase. We're going to do the technology of the paranormal. It's like, these are my people. And they opened up the suitcase and it's like, boo box and ghost detector.
Yeah, there you go.
Spirit sensor. And it's like, that's a microwave oven leakage detector.
I know. when you break it down, it's how household appliances all broken down into little bits.
Yeah,
that's what most of it is.
So I was blessed and cursed with the knowledge of how it worked in real life, not how it worked in the paranormal world. So then understanding why people thought it did the things it did, it just helped me understand how to explain it. So I became a technical director for another paranormal group and basically guided people on how things really worked. When your meter goes off, you're not chasing a spirit. When your temperature meter goes down or up, it doesn't mean that it's a ghost, because ghosts make the temperature change. It's like, what are you pointing at? It reads what you're pointing at. Thermal imaging, the list is endless of how equipment can be abused. And you see groups on TV displaying their ignorance as evidence. And it's like, oh my God.
It's definitely a misconception about the field, the way certain, I'm not saying all of us, but certain people handle equipment. Like, they're waving the K2 meter around. They're like, oh my God, it's lighting up. They have no idea how it operates or anything like that. And it's just like, oh my God, it's lighting up. It's like, why is it lighting up? I don't know, but it must be a ghost.
But it's red. That's evil. Everybody knows that.
It's talking to me.
Yeah. So it got me hooked. And it's
those like on this wall because the temperature is lower. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's moving towards me because the temperature is changing.
Yeah.
So I was always the technical side of things. So the more we got into it, the more we like the human psychology and how the physics of people. Like, how do you see? How do you see at night? What's your night vision like? And there's a lot of scientific or medical fact that you can't see in the dark below a certain level if you're looking straight at it. But if you look at it from the side of your eye, you can see it. And that explains a lot of why I saw it from my peripheral vision. But when I turned to look, it was gone. No, what your eyes are insensitive to the light. There's a certain level where you just can't see.
Yeah.
And if you use, and I love, okay, everybody, we're in the darkest of dark.
I know.
I'm going to take some pictures. Everybody's night vision is gone for like 15 to 20 minutes.
It's extremely dangerous, and but we have to sit there in the dark. But hopefully we can see something in the dark. But,
so knowing that when people explain their haunting, you can say, like, we were watching TV. Yeah, that's a light source. And you saw something behind the TV down the hallway in the dark. It's like, it's really hard to see things that are darker than the light you're looking at. So there's already those, okay, I'm not saying you didn't see things, but there's a lot of reasons why you could have seen things. And so when you told the gentleman, you may want to check out the combustion part of your heating system here. There's got soot all over the place. It's things like that. And I always thought that WSPIR is blessed with the varying backgrounds of people in the group, from people that were like in the exterminator, in the bug and animal infestation extermination business, people that did house contracting, plumbers, electricians, nurses, just people in all different fields. They go into a house and say, well, that's your category 17 black mold growing right over there. And I was like, who knows this stuff? But it helped the people like get rid of the mold. Like you said, fix your furnace. Then we'll come and see what's left over as paranormal. But there's a good chance that if you fix it, you won't be haunted because it's not haunted at all. It's you were basically about to black out.
pretty
We
much.
actually had a case like that a few years back, where it was a rented property, and a lot of people. So every tenant that was coming in, they were complaining about the same things: dark shadows, feeling really sick, seeing stuff, somebody massive headaches, like, and it just seemed to be. Every tenant, and the landlords called us and we said, okay, well, we can come and look as long as your tenants are okay with this and whatever. And we went in and, even just walking up to the house, like, some people are really super sensitive to EMF. They can pick it up, even before you're pulling out your little meter, like you just get that headache or whatever. And we went into the house and that EMF on there was like massive. Turned out though, that right by their dryer, they had a whole bunch of freaking open wires. Somebody had created their own wire nest of
Tesla coil.
And we said to them, look at, what, we can't even, this EMF, that could be causing a lot of, like, a good portion of the health issues right there. So before we can even look, you're going to have to get somebody in to check the wiring, because there's no point in us even investigating at this point. So they did get an electrician in, and the electrician was like, you guys are like one spark away from a massive fire. Like, you fix this first. And then sure enough, everything seemed to be fine afterwards. We never, we had heard from them before, later, and them saying, yeah, like, nobody's complaining about the issues anymore. It's like, well, sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
It's the element in the field. A lot of investigations where it's actual investigators rather than ghost hunters and stuff like that. Where there's the people don't know that element. They just got the EMF and stuff like that, and they think by gauging themselves by a millimeter or a K2 meter that they can say, oh yeah, it could be the EMF and stuff like that. But as to what Cathy said, people are susceptible at different levels to EMF. And it takes a lot of EMF for that, for that element of hallucinations and fatigue and sickness and stuff like that for it to actually happen. It's almost as if you've got to sleep below a electricity board, like a circuit board, for that to happen before you start. Then you get like the headaches and stuff like that. But it's variables that we work with, and you're right, Darren. We have to eliminate. You have to tick the boxes first before we say, okay, let's go in and check the place out and see whether there's any potential paranormal there. Once we've got rid of all that kind of thing. So what got you? What got you into this field, Darren? How did you start originally?
Curiosity. As a kid in Montreal, I'd be sitting underneath the blankets of my bed, waiting for my legs to be snatched if I touched the floor, because where everything lives under your bed. And I'd be reading about the Bermuda Triangle and how razor blades stayed sharp under triangles, and UFOs and Bigfoot. And there wasn't a limit to what I was fascinated in. It was just everything. And I loved a good ghost story. Then move ahead to Seattle and attending a paranormal conference that was being held in Seattle, and to have people do firsthand stories. It wasn't Hans Holzer, in one of his editions.
Yeah.
It was an actual person who had the experience, and it was just so fascinating that people I could touch and talk to and interface with and interact with, and then knowing that they'd be willing to let me go into their house to see if I could do something to help them. It was just amazing. And at first it was about the ghost hunting, be very, very quiet. We're hunting spirits. Everybody's got their little meters, and you got your camouflage vest with 67 pockets.
Yeah.
Waiting for anything to happen.
You gotta have the t-shirt.
Did you have the creepy little voice as well, like you just pulled off there?
Yes, that's my Elmer Fudd impersonation. It's a giveaway to do the.
Yeah. That's a good trigger object.
So when we had a case where the homeowner was this Samoan gentleman, man's man, and he would basically broke down saying, if someone came in to like attack my family, I would take care of him. I would put him down. If someone tried to break in, I could take them down. He goes, what's going on in my house? I am completely powerless. I don't know what to do. And just emotionally, you could see he was shattered. What do I do? And so it really hit home that it wasn't about the chase of trying to find it. It was helping a person like him come to some form of resolution, whether it was black mold, whether it was EMF hypersensitivity, whatever it was, if we could help him. And after helping him, and I'm not like, oh, definitely, what that is a ghost, or what that is your old. I don't know what it is. It's unexplained. You can't interview the orb and find out that's your late grandmother. It happened. It's in my video. I can't explain it. Maybe it's paranormal. Maybe it's just a video anomaly. But when you see somebody is don't want to say attacked, but someone has negative experiences, and through what you've done to help them, they no longer live in fear. The reward of being able to help that family is something that you want to repeat.
Yep.
And you want to help the next family and the next family. And you build a special bond with the people that you've done a case with because of that high emotional trauma that you're working through together. The fact that they needed help that they couldn't find anywhere, and you were able to give them that help. Because I try to put myself in a person's place of, if I had ghosts in my house, I'm not saying I do, not saying I don't. If something strange happened, and he always walks behind me like that. Don't worry about it, Peter. If I had a gas leak, I know who to call. If I had a water leak, say for a hot water tank exploded, I would know who to call.
Yeah.
Just typical example. If you have a spirit, who do you call? You go on the internet and type in the word ghost hunter and call the numbers that appear. That is insane. So for someone to actually do that, so when my phone rings with someone with a case, they've passed a psychological barrier of, I'm going to do something that most logical people wouldn't think of even trying to do.
Right.
And Peter, I'm sure you get calls where they're very confident in calling a paranormal group, and they'll tell you what level entity they have and what we need to do to help them.
Yep, and they can tell us what category of EVP they captured on their phone as well, and
what kind of demon it is that's walking around.
And they're going to send me a picture of the ghost they captured with their ghost app.
So there's the people that you know, and you can tell as soon as you're talking to them which half of the fence they're on.
Yeah.
But when you get the half that they really sincerely need help, I think the paranormal investigators who just take that call and listen, you've already helped them by listening.
It is. It's that transition period from when you first break into that conversation. You know, like this is like you can't put them all into one basket, but you know within about 5 minutes after talking to the person, whether you think it's going to be a legitimate case or whether they're just feeding off TV or what they've seen off TV and stuff like that. Because when they start breaking into quotations from TV and like things that have happened in there, it's like it's off a script and you're kind of taking that stand back. It's like, well, just do this and do that. And, do the checks and get back to me. And 9 times out of 10, they don't. And, those kind of people filter away. But then, then if they do come back, you've got to say, okay, I've got to take a look just in case. And then 99.9% of the time, you're actually correct. And it's a bad thing to make assumptions in what we do. But it's an educated assumption at the same time because it's lesson learned where you've gone out your way to help someone. You've driven like 50 miles or 100 kilometers to get to someone's house, and you've gone there and they're just, nothing's gone on. And there's like a load of people just sitting in the front room drinking beer and watching you setting up your equipment. And it puts you into that box where you want to help people, but it's lessons learned more than anything else kind of thing.
Yeah. And you try not to be insensitive to people. You want to still listen and hear them out and either help them through education or self-help. Because part of my philosophy is you're the one that's experiencing things. So let's break down what you're experiencing and, what's happening before the experience occurs. Is there a trigger or a catalyst? Is there 5 people in your house? Does it happen when all 5 are home? Maybe when only 3 of them were, is there a formula? And to log, keep write down the things that are happening, like a journal to yourself, and then see if there's a pattern that starts to make sense, because they should see the pattern. But I've had them share that diary and found a pattern for them, kind of thing. And did you just, I see it every time you go to physical therapy. It's like, is there like a negative feeling you really hate going? It's like, oh my God, I hate it more than life itself. And a lot of times it's just that they just don't realize it's right in front of them, and having an outside view can sometimes help. But that's really, I find really good paranormal investigating is very invasive.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But if you don't know everything, you can't help them.
True.
So we get these generic questions about, like we just asked you, how did you get into the field and stuff like that. But what intrigues me about a lot of people that I've spoken to since we've been doing this show and stuff like that, how they got to the point of, I want to do this, I want to become a paranormal investigator, I want to study the field and stuff like that. How you got from that to having a team? How did you gather all of that together to run your own team? How do you get from A to B, kind of thing?
So from attending my first paranormal conference, seeing that suitcase of awe, and then working with the team, and then being involved in the process, and we became very active members in establishing policy, procedure, how to do things, how not to do things. Sometimes the list of what not to do is as important as the things to do. And my wife is as deeply involved in this as I am. And it reached a point where the group either didn't want to, if we made a recommendation to do something a certain way, and if it wasn't readily adopted or didn't want to do it, there comes a point where you just say, I either accept that it won't happen, or I just branch away and start my own group and doing it the way that I want to do it. So it became more of, not that I had to have my own group, it was to do the things I wanted to do, I had to have my own group.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. We started our own group, and then we were able to, it's my policies, it's our policies that we're instilling and following. And anyone in the group will tell you that there's like a list of things of what you need to do, what you don't need to do. And it's developed because of when something went wrong.
Yeah.
You say, don't do that again.
Yeah.
We should write that down. So it helps me realize why a lot of laws out there exist, no matter how stupid they are, because at one point somebody did it. Somebody said, if we don't write this down.
It's hi Angela. It's one of the most beautiful thing about the field, though. There's no right and wrong in what we do. Like one team's methodology can be completely different to the other team, kind of thing. And it's
Exactly.
how it's providing we get to that point where that client is happy, or that person's happy with what we've done for them, regardless of whatever path we've taken. That's what makes our field so beautiful. It's how we got to that finish goal, more than not how we got there, but we got to that goal, kind of thing. And it's people have different routes in respect to that. So
Yeah, because there's different groups that are high into technology. Other groups are psychic based or sensitive based. Some incorporate the two, and there's no wrong. If it's helping people, it's helping people.
yeah, no, exactly.
And every group I've ever worked with or interfaced with, I always learn something. Either we're never going to do that, or that is a really good method.
Right.
So I like that. It's always growth. And I watch all the TV shows to see what stupid new meters out there.
You have time to watch TV, Darren? Come on.
No, I'm speaking historically.
Oh, okay.
What was like your first, I guess, encounter with the paranormal? Because a lot of times many of us get into it because we had that experience. But was it more that you were just fascinated with the paranormal, or did you have an experience beforehand?
I didn't have any major experiences beforehand. I love the phenomenon.
Right.
And I was a believer that ghosts exist, obviously, or there wouldn't be ghost stories. And then the more I got into it and saw the technical side, I was like, if I can, I don't want to call it debunk, but if I can eliminate the things that can be explained, then either everything's explained now, or we still have stuff that's not explained. And that was what happened, is there's still stuff out there that can't be explained.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's an investigation, is you explain everything you can. You get that plumber, you get the electrician, you go see a doctor, you check your blood levels. The things that can be done that are scientifically proven over and over again through repeatability. And then the things that still are remaining, that's what you're investigating. And you may never come to a conclusion to it, but the truth is, at the end of the day, when the customer it always sounds like they paid for something. We never charge. It's always free. And when they're pleased, or they say, "You're okay, you don't have to come back," everything we're experiencing has stopped. And that's the reward. And hopefully we can learn each time. And then as new members come into the group, that they were there when that happened. So that becomes part of their new knowledge, little block of data that will be used and carried forward for the next experience. And it's the individual experiences, just like the people that we're helping, they are having their experience. We're trying to, lean into their experience and see if we can find out what's going on. Because I've even told some people, it's satanic. And it's kind of like, what's your dictionary? If your dictionary consists of heaven and hell, then I'm not going to explain to you about something that's not those two things, because it will mean nothing to you. But they'd say that the spirit would come, and I'm sure it was evil, because it would tug on my waistband. I said, it doesn't sound like a very demon thing. Like, come over here, let me tug on your waistband. Let me give you a wedgie, you little kid. I said, was it forceful? Or was it kind of like your grandson or grandchild just kind of tapping you to get your attention? It's like, well, yeah, it was kind of like a kid would do. I said, so it's possible that maybe it wasn't evil, but a kid? I was like, oh, I never thought of that. Yeah, and it just changes. It's another piece of data, a possibility now. It's not heaven, it's not hell, it's not Satan. It could be a little girl. I was like, well, I don't want to get rid of her. That sounds sad. And so the fear is gone. And I still think that the activity is still present, but the fear is gone. So you don't get into that, I'm losing sleep, I don't know what was. Everything that happens is the cause of the paranormal, and it's the demon that was tugging on my waistband. So it just kind of escalates into the spiral. And if you could just kind of, oh, it's just a little girl. That kind of makes sense now that you mention it. And sometimes I hear little giggles, and and then they kind of, it just opens up another window they can look at it and say, yeah, I can see that. That makes sense. And the fear plays a big role. If you're not afraid, then no matter what's happening, isn't such a big deal.
Yeah, it's the interpretation of fear. Like, people fear things that they don't know about, and it's, a lot of people think, oh, because the latest fashion these days is demon and stuff like that, because obviously the shows bring that to life, that kind of thing. And people identify things like that as demons, and as, but then, obviously once you translate it, you kind of say, well, I don't want to sound funny. If I was a demon, I wouldn't be exactly tugging on you, that kind of thing. Or, and do you think it could be, the kind of methodology I use is, it's kind of like, it would be like me walking up to you in the street, Darren, and there is an invisible wall up against in front of you. I can see you, but you can't see me. I'm waving at you. I'm trying to talk to you, and you can't see me or anything like that. But the only way I can get your attention is by tugging you. And then I tug you, and you go, "Oh my God!" It's Lucifer himself. And then you're throwing holy water on me and stuff like that. And then
But if only you had an EMF meter say, "What's your name?"
Yeah. Make it go to red, please. But it is. It's a translation in essence. It's how you translate what they're going through back to them as it's a norm. And like, most of the time, once they get that acknowledgement that first of all, they're not going mad, and secondly, that they're what they're dealing with is not demon, it's not anything malicious or anything like that. 90% of the time, they don't call you back. They say, oh, the activity's died down now, because psychologically they're not looking for it anymore. That kind of thing. So
exactly right.
Yeah. So when you had your first experience, like,
Oh yeah, the question.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Back to that. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
New Orleans.
Okay.
I loved watching at Halloween. It would be most haunted hotels to spend the night in.
No.
And I was attending a wireless conference in New Orleans, and there was a place called the Castle 1812. It's no longer a bed and breakfast. It's now a private home. But
Okay.
my wife and I stayed there in the room called Madame Laveau's room.
Oh.
And the walls were like a deep red. I don't want to say dried blood. That's too dramatic. But it had the whole New Orleans vibe with the black iron mirrors, with the veily material hanging over it, and it was on the Travel Channel. They're not going to report a place that's not haunted. So I'm in a haunted place, mister. And so we stayed in that hotel. This was before all the paranormal groups. This was just, we're staying in this hotel. Now, maybe I was in a group, but we weren't investigating. It was just, we're staying here. And my wife confided with me. She goes, "Did you sleep?" I said, "No." I had my eyes closed the whole time, but I was awake. She goes, "So did you feel anything?" I said, "Someone sat on our bed." She goes, "Uh-huh." It's like, yeah, I felt that too. I'm like, "Oh,
Wow.
okay." and there's all kinds of, the bed's probably older than I am. The springs are kind of give, but no, we were convinced it was a haunted room. And then in the morning, the best part about B&Bs is when all the guests come and congregate in the kitchen area and tell their story about what happened to them the night before. It was fabulous. At one point, we even had guests that left the hotel.
Oh, really?
They stood on the corner with their bags like, "Get me out of here."
Wow.
And I was so fascinated. It was just so cool. I'd look, say, "I don't feel anything." It's like, the floorboards were uneven. I was already analyzing, trying to find out why people would feel the way they felt. But that we got to know, what I love about the paranormal, stepping back, is you get to meet the most interesting people. So to meet the caretakers of the bed and breakfast, who we've been communicating with them. We haven't heard from them in a long time, but right up to Katrina, they were the caretakers, and they would meet every guest, and they would go into the rooms that people say things had happened. They would have things happen. So again, it's going to that ghost story of the first person that had the experience, and then we had experiences. Then we went on a ghost tour, and we came back to our own hotel and told the story of what happened to us. And I was taking pictures. I had a new Nikon digital, and I was like, millions of pictures. And I have a picture of someone standing in the window frame. And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's one of the suits of armor." Well, we went up there that day. It was like, there is no suit of armor there. So it's one of those, is it paranormal? I can't prove it is, but I can't prove what it was. So it was one of those, another layer of maybe. And we returned again several times to New Orleans. It's like our second home. And I've had a lot of experiences where things happened. The most dramatic was a chandelier in one of the largest antebellum mansion in the Garden District. And it had 3 chandeliers, and each had huge, like 35-pound counterweights. And the counterweights were there to make the lamp easy enough to pull down, to light the gas light, and then raise it back up again. So I'm Mr. Science. They're all moving. All the counterweights are moving. And we didn't know it. I was talking to the historian, and the homeowner comes in behind us and goes, "Did you guys do something to the lamp?" And the historian's as tall as I am. It's like, we couldn't have gotten on each other's shoulders and moved that lamp. So no, it wasn't us. And I asked him, "Has this ever happened before?" And he goes, "Never." All the counterweights are moving. Now, logically, if I apply a force, all the counterweights will be moving. Right. Each one was in a different orbit. Not equal orbits, or each one was going its own little thing. There was no physical way I could have applied a force to it to replicate that.
Right.
And they continued to move far longer than is natural. But luckily, I had my EMF meter.
Jesus.
And you know how the EMF meter works? Take a big piece of metal and run it back and forth across an EMF meter. You're going to pick up EMF, even if there is no EMF. So there was an EMF field around that lamp that wasn't near the other lamps, because there's 3 lamps to, as a reference, and other things happened, but that was the most physical evidence. It didn't touch me. I didn't hear. I didn't see. It was a physical interaction with still no explanation. Many more, but that was really the first one.
That's pretty cool.
It's amazing. Yeah. I don't know what it is with me. Like we went to visit a hotel about 3 years ago, and I went with my team at the time, and there was about 8 of us that stayed in this particular hotel, and I had I wanted the most haunted room in the house, not because I Mr. Big Head, I want to experience this, and I want to validate it for myself. I'm kind of selfish in that respect. I want to feel it, and I want to see it myself. It's not, it's nice to get an EVP, it's nice to get a picture and stuff like that, but I would like that kind of element where, I experience something or I see something, whether there's a logical explanation behind it or not, it doesn't matter. I want that. But whenever, we went there, I had the best night's sleep ever in the most haunted room in the hotel. And I get up next day and everyone's there with bloodshot eyes sitting around the table, drinking coffee and stuff like that. And they're all telling their stories. I'm like, good morning. Of course, I'm this chirpy Englishman sitting in the corner of the room. Yep. Oh, this is great. More toast, please. And everyone's like, nursing that paranormal hangover. It's like, oh, this happened and that happened. And nothing happened to me whatsoever. And I feel guilty as well. I feel, I wish something did happen. It's just left out. But we've had that so many times in places where we've gone to Colmont Hotel in BC, which is supposed there was activity in certain parts, but it's renowned for being haunted. It's written in books and stuff like that. And again, I stayed in allegedly the most haunted room, and nothing happened. I slept for the 3 nights we were there. I slept like a baby all the way through, and it's just I don't know. I guess that ghosts put me to sleep. I guess.
Yeah, I feel a lot of it is the spirits that are inhabiting a location know your intent, and if they don't agree with your intent, then they're going to kind of interact with you. And I also feel that I've related allergy to psychic sensitivity. I don't have hay fever, so I can be in the middle of spring and I'm not sneezing. I don't feel anything. I don't react. Some people can go into a place that's completely haunted, filled with spirits and energy, and they just aren't sensitive or react to the energy or the spirit or the frequency, whatever you want to call it. And time and time again with all the cases, you ask the people, have you ever had anything strange like this happen elsewhere, or something unexplained happen elsewhere? And typically the people that are experiencers have experienced it in other places too. Very rarely is it, no, this is the only time I've ever had anything happen ever. There are some, but for the most part, the people who have experiences before then and will have experiences after then. It's not so much the house, but their aptitude for sensing what's going on.
They're like a beacon per se.
Yeah. Like I said, a vegan. I said, I don't know.
Sorry, man. It's been a long week again. I'm fortunate sometimes because I've got an accent and I can hide behind my accent. I was like, oh no, I didn't say vegan. I said. Everyone just nods and just says, yeah, okay, but we believe you, kind of thing. But
there are paranormal vegan groups out there. They just don't meet at Denny's at night.
No, they don't, do they? No.
It's true.
They stop off at the produce aisle down the local grocery store and they meet down there.
Graze in the backyard, yeah. I'm going to burn in hell, aren't I?
Yeah, no, I'm going to probably get some grief after, because I know that someone's tuning in at the moment who's like a diehard vegan, so I'm going to get some messages after this.
Oh,
I'm actually vegan. Believe it or not, I am vegan. So there you go.
Let me just say right up front,
I'm surprised you didn't tell us as soon as we joined the show. It's like, hi, I'm Linda, and I'm a vegan.
And I'm a vegan.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I have to sip on some broth. I'm feeling a little weak.
Yes.
No, I wanted to mention something that you had talked about at the very beginning about the fact that Um, and I think this is really important as a paranormal investigator. Often we go into someone's home and they're so discombobulated and they're so upset and there's so much emotionality. And we're kind of like that voice of reason, that walks in and really they haven't had that for so long. And when we start to ask them the questions, it's almost as if, really we're that anchor, and all of a sudden they go, oh yeah, right. I'm starting to connect the dots. And I kind of like that. What is this? Well, I missed that. I
That was
missed
So do
Angela.
I,
She said
Angela. So do I.
it was in reference to Darren's story. She loves hearing stories.
Oh,
Sorry, I'm a little
yes.
bit late to the draw on that one. Sorry,
Oh
Angela.
yeah. No, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
But it's true. I like the fact that, what you had said before about that being that anchor for people. And I don't know. I just think that that's so important, and so many teams miss that.
There's a lot of, I was just going to mention that actually, there's a lot of teams that do miss that, and they'll come through instead of investigating and actually taking a look if it could be something natural rather than, supernatural. They just run right to it, and, it can actually bring up more fear within the clients. And then you've got the clients in this place. Well, I had this team tell me that I've got 10 portals in my house and, 1,800 demons that are, broke through hell and they're running around my attic. And, and you've got some people that like,
Let's race right through to the demon.
Well, they do. And we generally people like that are categorized as thrill seekers or ghost hunters, and a lot of people don't know the difference between what ghost hunters and the difference between ghost hunters and paranormal investigators. But there is that line, and generally I throw a lot of the thrill seekers and stuff like that into the ghost hunters category. No offense to the ghost hunting shows and stuff like that. They might try and present themselves in different ways, but it's the investigator investigates. He studies what goes on, and he looks at it at different angles, and that's primarily why we call ourselves that.
Yeah, we don't go in looking for a ghost.
No,
we go in listening to the story and seeing if we can extrapolate what they're saying and find causation for it. And if we find that we can't explain it, then it still doesn't mean it's a ghost. But then that's what we work with. When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. I love that expression.
Yeah.
Because if you're a ghost hunter, then you go in a house, everything's a ghost.
Yeah.
Right.
What if it's UFOs? What if it's a Bigfoot? He loves hiding it under staircases.
Sasquatch is there.
Yes. You just don't know.
No.
And no one can prove it. So there's no meter in the world that can prove what it is.
I know in our team, we used to have, connections to plumber, electrician. We even had a cop, different, it was just, it's not that we endorse their services. When we always told people that we're not endorsing their particular services, but they might join us on an investigation if we do, think that this is electrical, or this could have to do with plumbing, or it could have to do with, something else. Right. And it was handy to have that, simply because of the fact that they're going to see something maybe that we're not going to see because we don't have that experience. Yeah, and a lot of people aren't going to deny somebody when they say, well, you're getting a lot of like, it's your electrical, for coming from a certified electrician. They're not going to sit there and be like, Miss Molly housewife isn't going to usually argue with some, well, no, I know it's a demon. No, they're usually going to listen to somebody that has that knowledge, or, the professionalism behind them. Right. So, yeah.
So have you guys ever done an investigation on a place that several groups have been asked to investigate that before, and you're kind of like running cleanup, like group number 4?
Yeah, I can't even. Actually, in here we're in my city here. We we actually, there was a group that did go into a lot of places, and they mucked it for everybody. Especially in historical places. What is he saying?
I'm saying, what city are you from? You go, here in this city.
From Edmonton. Sorry, from Edmonton.
Oh, Edmonton.
So I'm in Edmonton, Alberta. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean what I said about Alberta earlier.
Oh, It's okay.
I'll make it Saskatchewan.
Oh yeah. No, we're not Saskatchewan. We're a little up from Saskatchewan. We're a little better.
Okay.
No, I'm just teasing.
Yeah, but it's so fascinating because a lot of times it's because the group that came couldn't help. But in some cases, it's the customer didn't get the answer that they were shopping for.
Yes.
A lot of times it too is that there was the only group, I think, within our city at that time. And so they had a monopoly of basically being able to, they could have told them that, you know, the Care Bears were running around their kitchen, and they might have believed them because there was nothing, you know, to really give them another side of something. And also they were charging a fortune. And like they, you know, they were going in and swirling their hands and saying, oh, I created a portal to get rid of all of the, but they went into a lot of historical places too. So, you know, when the real teams kind of came, we were actually the only team here in Edmonton that were able to go into, we were actually invited by some of these places into areas that they, you know, they had originally banned all investigations from because this team had mucked it so badly. And so we were able to get into like Fort Edmonton Park, the airport, different, you know, historical sites. And they actually asked us to come in because there was a little bit of credibility that had been, well, we had a lot of credibility, but the credibility had been built up, you know, simply because there was another way of looking at things now.
And you mentioned something that I hammer home often is credibility and reputation. It's all you have is your reputation.
Yeah.
So don't do anything to hurt your reputation. And to be so honored to be asked and called out to be able to go to places. To me, when a homeowner hands you his keys and says, we're going into a hotel, just call me when you're done. I think, I wouldn't let somebody into my house while I'm home. Yeah. So to have that faith in the people, it's I totally honor that and respect that, and never want to, you know, sully the reputation of a group over that. And it's like your reputation is everything.
Yeah,
all it takes is a bad reputation. You can't get into any place after that.
Yeah, it's true.
It takes 1 second just to change your reputation as well, just one thing. But we've been, well, not we. I've been called to lots of investigations over the past where they've had multiple teams in there for whatever reason. Generally, 90% of the time I've gone in there and I've said to the person, you know, I don't want to know what they did before. Like, I don't want to see what they got or anything like that. If you want to get my evidence against theirs, that's fine, unless they've caused damage there. Like, for example, the last one I dealt with was an alleged psychic in Vancouver who turned around and said to a woman that there was 40 dead bodies buried in her back garden. And that was the last that I dealt with that probably about a year ago when I was a part of Vancouver Paranormal Society. And it's just when I'm dealing with stuff like that, that's when I need to pull my sleeves up here. And then the time before that, this woman was absolutely petrified because they said that they found 8 ghosts in her house. And I'm like, okay, how did they come to this conclusion? They said, well, they gave me these pictures and stuff like that, and they got these voice recordings, and so I was like, okay. And this woman was petrified. I said, right, okay, let me have a look at it. Let me analyze what they've given you. So they give me the EVPs, and there's nothing on there. It's like environmental, it's mechanical. You know, it sounds like a furnace. They've sat down with her and they've said to her, okay, this is saying kill me, or, you know, I'm going to kill you, or something like that. And she's interpreted that because she's heard it through their mouth. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'll be honest with you. I'll put my reputation on the line now. I've been doing this now probably a lot longer than that. You know, the Joe Schmo you've had through the door. That doesn't sound like what that is. It sounds like this. And I've recorded the furnace coming on and stuff like that. Oh yeah, that's generally what I do. And it's not me sticking knives in other people's teams. It's when they've done that. It's when they got to the point where people, and I've had it before where clients have sold their house through things that people have said because they want to, they want to have that sparkle about themselves. You know, they've gone to a house and they've gone on social media and said that this house is haunted. And I hate using the term haunted because I think it's overrated. It sounds like a Peter Sellers movie. It's like, the haunted house on the hill kind of thing. But it's that it's when they push it through that element when they say this is crazy. You've got 28 ghosts in there, and the people are petrified that you're dealing with people's lives. There was one case that came up it was actually in Alberta a few years ago, and it was on a blog from a friend of mine. That actually a woman. There was a team in Alberta, in Calgary. Was it Calgary? No, it's further. Where was it? I think it's Saskatchewan. No, it's Saskatchewan. Sorry, next one. She actually committed suicide. She actually committed suicide because of the aftermath of what was left behind when those guys went into the house, and because they said basically, your house is haunted and this is going on and that's going on and stuff like that, and she couldn't move or anything like that, and because there was probably nothing going on in the house, but she had that going round and round and round her mind. Of course, it made the smallest thing magnify about 150 times, and then it just eventually just went killed herself. And it's just, you're dealing with, like, when you say, like, they hand you the keys, you walk across into their property and stuff like that, you're dealing with people's lives one way or another. You're not, you haven't got a gun to their head or anything like that, but you're carrying their emotions in your hand, and it's what you do with it after that kind of counts, regardless of how you bring that forward. And it's just, it's the shits. Like when I started for 26, 27 years ago, there was a lot of crap going on back then. There's a lot of politics and stuff like that because there wasn't many teams around. But in the UK, each one of us had that code of conduct where we knew what the mission statement was at the end. We knew how to carry it through. But now it's because of perhaps TV. People were pointing fingers at TV and stuff like that. It's brought a lot of what we do in the field to light. But it's brought forward that all of a sudden that there are paranormal investigators, which is a plus. But then on the bad side of it, you've got people that are watching Ghost Adventures and seeing that, and they're interpreting that, and that's where that overlap is, where you're dealing with people's lives one way or another, kind of thing. It's just sad, and there's nothing really we can do about it. You can't govern our field or anything like that. Anyway, sorry, that's my rant. Jesus.
Amen.
Amen. Sorry, went off there.
It's true. Though.
Kind of what came over me. Jesus.
Testify, Peter. Testify.
I know. There you go. Crazy, man. Crazy.
Well, it's true. It's the power that words have. When you're in a desperate situation and someone who you see to as assistance says something, it's very powerful. And like you said, they took that as being the truth, and they had nothing to contrast that against. And depending on how bad the situation was, to hear that it was worse than they even thought could push someone right over the edge.
Yeah, no, totally. There was actually a case in New Westminster in BC that I was kind of connected to. I'm not going to give it too much details, but a group went in there, and because the house was a mess at the time, they didn't want to get involved, and then she kept calling them back, saying there's problems. She cleared out our house, but they labeled that house as being an S-hole, like a dirty place and stuff like that. Oh, we don't want to go in there and stuff like that. So they brushed her off, and the same thing happened then as well. I actually got a phone call from her husband when she killed herself, and it's the same thing as well. And it's not us being psychiatrists or anything like that, but it's, we're not going to go in and say she may have needed medical help, which probably did, because she got to that point, but we're not doing ourselves any favors in the long run in what we do, doing just brushing people off and stuff like that. Again, we're dealing with people's lives, what indirectly or directly, whatever way you want to look at it.
And we're not doctors, so we can't prescribe anything.
No, we can't, but we can. We have a certain code of conduct when we're dealing with, like, if you go to public buildings, you can do whatever you want. Well, not whatever you want, but you can run a little bit more free in relation to what you do. But when you're allowed into people's houses, it's a totally different realm, and there's certain rules that we have to stick by in relation to that.
Yeah, there's really a big difference between doing a public location where either you've paid to have access for a period of time versus a private home.
Yeah,
there's there's no comparison.
Yeah,
it's good training doing a public place, because you can make a mistake, you can do it wrong.
You can.
It's okay.
it's a little bit, the process is obviously a little bit different, but I prefer smaller residents because it's easier to get a better understanding with the characteristics of the house a lot quicker than what it is in a bigger house. Because 9 times out of 10, when you go to a public place, you only get one swing at the bat, and it's like when we went to Barkerville, it's like there's 126 cabins up there, and we investigated that place probably for about 6 hours. And it's like, where do you start? And it's like, did you have a good time? It's like, I barely opened my case and turned my voice recorder on. It's like, by the time we did the tour, it was lunchtime, and it was just like, what do we do now, kind of thing. But but with residential cases, you can do a kickoff case where you're doing little tests around the house and stuff like that. But then after 1 or 2 investigations, you've kind of tapped into the house. You've got that kind of understanding of where the case is going to go, rather than the bigger investigations where, it's not always that important, but it's nice to have a lens on where things are generated, if there is anything going on.
Yeah, where their air filter clicks on and clicks off, or their ice maker starts to make ice, or all of those house sounds that are normal in every single house. If you've never been there and you hear them, and it's like, did you hear that? Do that again. It's like 2 more ice cubes. It's a sign.
I'll turn the thermostat down and turn it back on again. How's that? And you can hear that. Oh, I can hear the clicking and that growling noise. No, it's the burner in the furnace.
Yeah, it's like, if you don't know what it sounds like when it's doing things you can explain, then you're going to have a whole trunk full of unknown sounds and experiences that could have been dismissed.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's a blast.
It is.
It is a blast. But there's such great
you Canadians are so refined in your paranormal investigations.
Oh,
I'm so proud. God save the Queen.
I'm British. I'm sorry. I don't. You know what? I've been away from Old Blight for so long. I don't even know what to classify myself as anymore. It's been such a long time. It's like, where's home? Oh no.
I just assumed you were from Newfoundland, and that's why we couldn't really understand you.
I sound drunk as well when I talk, so that's understandable. But,
oh no.
Too funny.
Anyway, thank you very much for joining us, Darren. That we've just popped a little bit over the hour mark, but much appreciate you coming on the show.
Pleasure. Happy holidays to everyone.
Yeah, no, same to you, Darren. You and your lovely wife. Just last thing, Darren, do you want to give a little plug to the audience of your group and where to find your group?
Yes, we're best found on Facebook if you're looking for Washington State Paranormal Investigations and Research, or WSPIR, unless it's reversed, then it's WSPIR.
You're talking Luffy now, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Or WSPIR.com will bring us to the website. But I haven't updated the website on the www for quite some time. So it'll get you to the Facebook site, and that's where all the activity is going on. And we have Rick and Melinda Reeves are running the Washington State aspect locally, because as I said, I'm now living in Kansas, but as many other groups, my microphone's still good, but my headset just died, but I can fix that while I still talk. So they're managing WSPIR, and with COVID and everything, it's been really hard to have any type of regular meetings. And at the abundance of caution, do you have your team go into a place and do you start asking for, are you vaccinated? So it gets kind of weird. So I guess fortunately there hasn't been a lot of cases as of late, but if there is one, it has to be really has to be a family that really needs help to overcome the risks that would be incurred by the team.
Yes,
absolutely. It's definitely a funny time at the moment.
No audio. You have to enunciate your words, like speak big.
Sorry, let me talk very slowly, like a Canadian. How's that, eh? Where's my moose? How's that?
Audio speaker.
Where's my Canadian club whiskey moose? Can you hear that?
Say
Darren?
something.
You can't hear me. No.
I got sound.
Okay.
He's got lots
Not
of
your
sound
sound.
going on there.
He has, and he's got a little bit of jazz going on there.
This is the spirit's way of letting us
I
know
know.
it's time for me to shut the hell up.
I know. All right. Well, thanks, guys, for tuning in, and
The
thank you for
speaker's
everyone.
not working here.
I'm going to
working
put
so
Darren on
earlier.
mute way before he starts before his Tourette's.
Let me just say, let me reciprocate what you're saying.
Okay. Anyway, if you like the show, please subscribe to the I Want to Believe channel, and thank you very much for everyone for tuning in. And we will be back this time next week, or not this time, but an hour at 6 p.m. next week, Pacific time. Thanks, guys, and stay tuned.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Have Merry Christmas.